Okay, so imagine this. You wake up, maybe scroll through your phone, and bam, there's this huge headline screaming about the assassination of a really prominent political figure. It sparks outrage, fear,
Yeah.
confusion.
Yeah, it's that jolt, isn't it? You immediately think, what just happened?
Exactly. But what if? What if that news, that whole story was just made up, completely chillingly fabricated?
Sounds like a movie plot, but
But it's not hypothetical at all. It's precisely what unfolded just this month, September 2025, sent like genuine shockwaves across the internet. So today, you and I are taking a deep dive into this exact event, the widespread online hoax claiming the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
right.
And our mission isn't just to, recount what happened. We want to really unpack who Charlie Kirk is, dissect the incredibly detailed, fabricated narrative that spread like wildfire, and then, maybe most crucially, explore the bigger picture, the more insidious implications of how this kind of dangerous disinformation gains traction, why it feels so plausible right now.
Yeah, why it works, even temporarily.
We're going to show you how a digital lie can become a very real-world concern for all of us.
And what's really insightful here, I think, isn't just the audacity of the lie itself. It's what its rapid spread, the details in it, reveals about the vulnerabilities in our whole information ecosystem, things we often overlook.
That makes sense.
And it also taps into some very real anxieties, these sort of underlying fears about political violence that are unfortunately just kind of humming in the background today.
Right, constant buzz.
Exactly. So this whole thing, this deep dive, it really offers a critical case study for anyone trying to, navigate the complex currents of modern media.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Before we dive headfirst into the incredible fabrication, the thing that sent the internet into an absolute frenzy, we need to understand the figure at its center. Who exactly is Charlie Kirk? The man who suddenly found himself, at the heart of this digital storm.
Right, good place to start. So Charlie Kirk, he's an American conservative activist, also a media personality and author. Born October 14th, 1993, so that makes him 31 years old right now.
Still pretty young to be that prominent.
Yeah, and in a relatively short amount of time, he's really emerged as one of the most prominent and, let's be honest, polarizing voices in the modern conservative movement. Our sources show a pretty rapid ascent, actually, starting with a bold vision while he was still quite young.
And his main vehicle for that vision, the thing that really put him on the national map, that's Turning Point USA, right? TPUSA.
Exactly.
He founded that, launched it back in 2012 with entrepreneur Bill Montgomery. Can you tell us more about that, how it started, how it got so big on campuses?
Absolutely. So TPUSA's mission, looking at the sources, it's pretty clear. Identify, educate, train, and organize students, specifically to promote conservative values.
On high school and college campuses.
Right? High schools, colleges, universities. And what's really remarkable is just how fast it grew, its trajectory. From, pretty humble beginnings, it's expanded like crazy. It's got a presence now on hundreds, literally hundreds of campuses across the U.S.
Wow.
So this isn't just like a small student club. It's a highly organized, well-funded movement.
Right.
And that rapid expansion, honestly, it's a testament to Kirk's, his undeniable ability to connect with and mobilize younger conservatives.
Yeah.
He basically created a pipeline for student activism on the right.
And TPUSA doesn't just operate quietly behind the scenes, does it? They're known for these huge events, really high-profile stuff.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
We're talking about their Student Action Summit, the American Comeback Tour.
Yeah.
These things attract thousands of people.
Huge crowd.
And you often see incredibly prominent conservative figures speaking there. Famously, President Donald Trump has shown up multiple times.
That's right. Major figures lend their weight to it.
And beyond TPUSA itself, Kirk has become a pretty significant media personality in his own right.
Definitely. His media footprint is quite extensive now. He hosts his own daily talk show, The Charlie Kirk Show. It's widely syndicated.
Right there.
Yeah, and he's incredibly active, very influential on social media, especially X, formerly Twitter. His posts often get millions of views, millions of impressions.
So he has that direct line to his audience.
Exactly. He can bypass traditional media filters, which is, a key part of his strategy and his influence.
Okay, so we've sketched out his rise, his platform, but to really get why he was the center of this particular storm, this hoax, we need to grasp his core political philosophy. Based on your deep dive, what are the main causes? The principles Charlie Kirk really champions, the things that define his influence, and crucially, how people see him across the political map.
That's a great question. Because his ideology, it's really the bedrock of his appeal, but it's also, frankly, the source of a lot of the controversy surrounding him. Looking directly at the sources, you basically see three key pillars. First, there's fiscal conservatism.
Okay, like taxes, spending.
Exactly. He staunchly advocates for lower taxes, reduced government spending, free market policies, very much about minimal government intervention in the economy, individual financial liberty, as he'd frame it.
Got it. What's the second pillar?
Second is constitutionalism, but not just, a general belief in the Constitution. It's specifically a very strict sort of originalist interpretation of the U.S. Constitution and a really vigorous defense of individual liberties, especially the Second Amendment.
Ah, okay. Gun rights. That comes up a lot with him.
It does. And this stance, it informs some of his most provocative statements. He often frames any perceived infringement on gun rights as this, like existential threat to liberty, which, as our sources clearly show, becomes a major point of contention, a flashpoint.
And it's that strong, almost unyielding stance on issues like the Second Amendment that often sparks such intense debate, right? Even within conservative circles sometimes. That seems to be part of his brand.
Absolutely. It's very much part of his brand. And that connects directly to the third pillar, cultural conservatism.
Okay, what does that encompass for him?
Well, Kirk is an outspoken critic of what he views as liberal policies taking over college campuses, particularly around issues like gender identity, diversity initiatives, public education systems.
Don't you hear debated a lot these days?
Constantly. And he often expresses these views, sometimes pretty forcefully, on platforms like Fox News. He paints this picture of a broader cultural battle, a fight for the soul of America, basically. Our sources show he sees these issues as fundamental challenges to, traditional American values.
Okay, so given all that the fiscal conservatism, the strict constitutionalism, the cultural warrior stance, it's maybe not surprising his career hasn't been smooth sailing, controversy-wise. What stands out from your research about the public scrutiny, the accusations he's faced?
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here, I think, is the range of criticism he attracts. His career has definitely not been without significant controversy. He's faced repeated accusations of making inflammatory comments, divisive remarks, really pushing the boundaries. And what's particularly notable is that the critics aren't just from the left. Sometimes they come from within conservative or libertarian circles, too.
Oh, interesting. Like who?
Well, sources mention figures like Ben Shapiro, Matthew Dowd, for example, people who has, at various times, taken issue with aspects of his rhetoric or his approach.
So not just ideological opponents.
Right. His specific views on race, immigration, certain social issues, these have often drawn significant criticism, charges of insensitivity, sometimes even outright prejudice. Yet, and this is key, despite all this, or, in some cases because of it,
Right.
he maintains a very strong, incredibly loyal base of support. His followers see him as this, unapologetic voice standing against what they perceive as liberal overreach or cultural decay.
Okay. That sets the stage. Now, let's turn to the truly wild part, and frankly, a pretty disturbing part of this deep dive. The entirely fabricated story that had social media just buzzing like crazy this month, September 2025. The claim that Charlie Kirk had been shot, this wasn't just some vague rumor, was it?
Not at all. No, it was deeply disturbing and, like you said, entirely false. The claim was that a shooting of Charlie Kirk had occurred. Some versions even went further, alleging he was actually killed outright.
Killed? Wow.
Yeah. And it wasn't vague at all. It was designed, it seems, to sound incredibly specific and urgent, which, is a key factor in why it spread so fast.
And this is where it gets really interesting. In a chilling way, what made this hoax so potent, so believable to so many people? It seems to be the specific false elements that gave it this, air of credibility. These details are crucial, right? So to understand why it caught fire.
Absolutely crucial.
Can you walk us through those specific but completely made-up details that sources confirm were flying around?
Certainly. Our sources highlight several fabricated details that really acted as plausibility anchors, we can call them. They gave the hoax this deceptive shine of reality. First, the supposed location, Utah Valley University, UVU, in Orem, Utah.
Okay, a real place, not made up.
Exactly. It's a real university. That gives it a geographic anchor, makes it feel grounded. Then, the specific injury claim.
Right, what was that?
The claim was he was shot in the neck. Or, in some versions, declared dead right there on the scene. That kind of detail immediately raises the emotional stakes, makes it visceral.
Yeah, definitely.
The narrative also claimed he was attending a Turning Point USA event at UVU when this supposed incident occurred.
Which fits his known activities perfectly.
Perfectly. It aligns completely with what people know he does. And then, to top it all off, there were these detailed, but again, totally false reports about a Charlie Kirk shooting suspect.
A suspect?
Yes, supposedly identified and even subject to a nationwide manhunt.
Wow, so it had all the pieces.
It had all the makings of a major breaking news story, a location, a prominent victim, a dramatic cause, even a perpetrator being hunted. On the surface, it looked real.
So, yeah, on the surface, incredibly convincing. But then as we dug into our sources, the complete lack of any credible evidence just started to unravel the whole thing, didn't it?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this story such a masterclass in disinformation, but ultimately also a failure. Because while it had those specific false details, it completely lacked any backup, any corroboration from official, trustworthy sources.
Right.
And that's where the real world inevitably pushes back against the digital lie.
So what does this all mean when you cut through the noise, the panic? It means law enforcement in Utah, the Orem Police Department, others, and even the state's governor, Spencer Cox. Nobody made any official statement about a shooting like this. Crickets.
Silence, which is telling.
And crucially, no credible news outlets reported it. None. Not Fox News, not CNN, not MSNBC, not the Associated Press. Nobody.
Right.
And think about it. For a figure as prominent, as controversial as Kirk, an assassination attempt, that would have been the absolute top story everywhere, instantly.
Front page news, lead story on every network, no question.
So the silence from legitimate sources was, well, deafening, once you knew to listen for it anyway.
And we can confirm, unequivocally, based on all the evidence from our sources, Charlie Kirk is alive and well.
Right.
His official social media accounts kept posting. No interruption. His podcast kept coming out right on schedule.
Business as usual.
Exactly. Those actions provided irrefutable proof that claims like Charlie Kirk dead or Charlie Kirk shot at UVU were completely, definitively false. The lack of any real-world impact, any real confirmation, that was the ultimate undoing of the hoax. It couldn't sustain itself against reality.
Now, the main way this spread, the vector for this hoax, like so many others today, it was social media.
Yep.
Our sources point squarely at X, formerly Twitter, as the epicenter. But beyond just where it spread, it's the how. That's what's really fascinating and maybe scary. What did your deep dive reveal about the mechanics, the ways this lie just metastasized so quickly?
Well, what's startling here, and this really speaks to the current vulnerabilities in our whole information system, is how perfectly this hoax exploited a pre-existing climate, a climate of intense political polarization, and also this deep-seated distrust of traditional media outlets.
Okay, so the ground was fertile, basically.
Extremely fertile.
Yeah.
Imagine a digital echo chamber just primed and ready. So when the initial false claims popped up, often from accounts with, low credibility but maybe high engagement,
Yeah, those can spread fast.
they get amplified like crazy, not just by bots, but by real users who are already sort of predisposed to believe narratives of political violence, especially against figures they support, or maybe even figures they oppose.
Right, confirmation bias kicks in hard.
Absolutely. Yeah. Our sources reveal this chilling timeline where an unverified tweet may be boosted by like a cleverly photoshopped image from some unrelated event or misleading captions on an out-of-context video clip.
Deceptive visuals.
Right. That stuff could outpace any official debunking by hours, sometimes even days. And that leaves a lasting impression, even after it's corrected. It wasn't just about the lie itself. It was the speed of its emotional resonance. We could almost call it narrative velocity, just completely overwhelming truth velocity.
That idea of narrative velocity, that's powerful. That instant visual trickery, even if it's subtle, it creates this immediate feeling of urgency, of authenticity. It makes the whole outrageous claim feel more concrete somehow.
Exactly.
And didn't we also see a parallel rumor, something about Melissa Hortman, also debunked?
We did. Yeah, Melissa Hortman, she's a progressive state representative from Minnesota.
Mm.
And yes, there was a similar, quickly debunked assassination rumor about her circulating around the same time.
Which suggests maybe a coordinated effort,
Yeah.
or just the general climate.
It's hard to say definitively without more evidence, but it's an interesting parallel that our sources flagged. That concurrent false claim, even though it was distinct, it points to a potentially troubling pattern. Whether it was coordinated or just opportunistic, it hints at maybe an attempt to create this broader narrative of widespread political violence, hitting figures on different sides. And again, the lack of immediate, widespread mainstream media coverage for either event, simply because they never actually happened, that created a vacuum.
A narrative vacuum.
Precisely. And that vacuum is exactly what unverified rumors thrive in. People are looking for explanations, for information, and if the credible sources are silent, because there's nothing real to report,
Then the fake stuff rushes in.
exactly. Even weakly supported narratives can quickly fill that void, especially when they tap into those pre-existing biases or fears we talked about.
Okay, so stepping back from this specific fabricated event, what does the whole Charlie Kirk hoax incident tell us? About the world we're living in now, the challenges we're all facing, trying to figure out what's true and what isn't.
Well, while the shooting of Charlie Kirk was absolutely unequivocally a hoax, and we really have to keep stressing that,
Yeah, important point.
its rapid spread wasn't just some random digital fluke. It acts like a stark mirror. It reflects these very real, very visceral anxieties about political violence that are bubbling right under the surface of American society today. So the hoax wasn't just a lie, it was almost like a psychological weapon, preying on vulnerabilities that were already there.
Exactly. And those vulnerabilities aren't abstract. Our sources detail real-world events that feed these fears. You think about the shocking assassination attempt on Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, or the shooting of Republican Congressman Steve Scalise back at that baseball practice.
Horrific events.
Right. These aren't just stories. They're moments that remind everyone how fragile civility can feel, how quickly political tensions can escalate into actual physical violence.
And that's where the insidious power of the hoax really lies. The fact that a story about an assassination attempt on a figure like Kirk could be so widely, so rapidly believed. It isn't just about people being gullible.
No.
It speaks to a deeper, maybe legitimate societal trauma, a collective fear about where things are heading, about escalating political tensions, about real violence.
So the hoax taps into something real, even though the event itself was fake.
Precisely. And the real cost here isn't just, a temporarily misinformed public. It's the further erosion of trust. Trust not just in media, but maybe even trust in the very fabric of our shared reality. It creates this climate where genuine threats become harder to pick out from the fabricated ones.
Which could paralyze actual responses when needed.
Could paralyze responses, yeah. And it just further entrenches divisions. It deepens the trenches of polarization, making any kind of constructive dialogue even harder.
Now, what's also clear from our sources is that, despite this swirl of fabricated news about his death, Charlie Kirk himself, his influence, his work, it all continues. Unabated. He remains a significant force.
That's absolutely right. Turning Point USA, his organization, it's still incredibly active on campuses, in the media. It's consistently shaping the views of, a new generation of conservative voters.
Still a major player.
Definitely. And Kirk himself continues to be a prominent voice. He strategically uses his platforms, his show, his social media to disseminate his views very effectively.
Yeah.
His estimated net worth often comes up. It's a subject of public interest. Reports generally put it in the range of, say, $5 to $10 million.
Which reflects the success of his operation.
It does. It serves as a kind of testament to his successful career as a conservative activist and media personality. That financial success underscores the scale of his influence and his operation.
So if we step back one last time, consider the wider implications. This whole episode, this fabrication about Kirk, it really serves as a powerful case study, wouldn't you say?
Oh, indeed. Absolutely. If you connect all these dots, the Charlie Kirk assassination hoax is, well, it's almost a textbook case study. It shows the dangers of political disinformation, its potential to sow discord, to cultivate distrust, even to manipulate public perception of political stability itself. It just highlights how readily a convincing yet utterly false narrative can take root, especially in an environment that's already ripe with partisan division and skepticism towards traditional media.
Which really just drives home the critical importance for you, for the listener, right? The need to cultivate robust media literacy.
Critical thinking.
Yeah, practicing critical thinking and recognizing the individual responsibility we all actually hold to verify information, check sources, use trusted, credible outlets before we hit share.
It seems simple, but it's crucial.
It affects all of us, not just the people directly named in these hoaxes. It pollutes the whole information environment. Okay, so let's recap this deep dive then. As of today, September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk is very much alive and well. He's continuing his work across his various platforms.
Correct.
The widespread, highly emotional rumors of his death by assassination, including that specific, detailed story about a shooting at Utah Valley University, they are completely, definitively false, a product of targeted disinformation.
Unequivocally false.
This whole hoax serves as a really stark reminder. not just of our volatile political climate, which is obvious, but maybe more pointedly, of the incredible speed and reach of disinformation in our digital age.
The velocity we talked about.
Exactly. So while the Charlie Kirk shot story was a lie, the underlying fears, the fears of political violence, the deep divisions that exploited those are very real, and they remain present concerns for our society. So, this deep dive into a completely fabricated assassination, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In an age where a lie, often crafted with such unsettling precision, can travel halfway around the world before the truth even, gets its boots on, what responsibilities do we as individuals truly hold in protecting the integrity of public information and maybe even the basic civility of our discourse?
It's a huge question.
It really is. It's something profound, I think, for all of us to consider, and how we consume information, how we discern it, and ultimately how we choose to share the news that shapes our world.